Welcome to the ECR Retail Loss, Sell More and Lose Less podcast series. Winning the hearts and minds of store managers and store associates is the key to food waste reduction and great compliance to routines. In this podcast, I'm joined by Richard Thaleman, Food Waste Advisor for ECR Retail Loss, and we discuss the meeting we had with over 80 retailers who were sharing their approaches to communications and the competitions and the ways in which they were finding new and different ways to engage store associates and store managers in stores to reduce food waste. We had an amazing meeting the other day on food waste, and we were talking about how do you win over the hearts and minds of store colleagues, that's managers and hourly associates. And we had Tesco, Kaufland, Kroger, and AB Greece share some learnings, and we had great discussion also with the many other retailers who were on the call. And we started off with an academic who's looking into this sort of duality, of store workers, in the store and in the home. They should, equally care, you would think, about food waste. But looking at the research around, if you care about food waste at home, and you come into work and food waste is less of a priority, how does that fit? And what are some of the issues around that? Very early stages of the research, and I think there's other research that has actually happened in that space. But that set up the discussion and set up the presentations of work from the others. So as you reflect, and you've been an expert in this space and happily a great friend of ECR for a number of years now, what were your sort of takeaways and thoughts that, if retailers weren't there, what should they think about and act on in terms of the conclusions we came to at the end of the call, which is just under an hour and a half?
Yeah. So first and foremost, what a great topic. I mean, I love winning hearts and minds and colleague engagement. It's a great thing to be able to do, and it's very creative as well, which is great. I kind of love that. So I think that first and foremost within that is that, colleague engagement is fundamental, and sometimes the difference between landing a successful initiative and a mediocre one. And nobody really wants a mediocre one, but there are a lot.
Please, I want mediocre.
Exactly. So there's many different elements of that, and I think we'll cover that in this short podcast. So keeping the training fresh as well, which is I think what we saw in some of those examples, is equally as important. When people have so much training, or colleagues have so much training to do in stores, it all becomes a little bit wallpaper in the end, because it all looks the same. Answer some questions and leave the room and you've done your part. So I think they've done a great job in revitalizing that. But of course, I always think about, before all of that, is that we should always make sure that there is not adding any complexity to the stores when landing initiatives, and it is simple for the colleague to do. So the very first start point for colleagues to be engaged in anything that you want to do is making it easy for them to do. So I think that's really key. And then another part follows on from that, of course, is this age-old example of when it matters to your boss, it matters to you. So we have to think about the audience that we're trying to engage. So engaging the colleagues might be very different to the way that you engage with area managers, for example. An example I have of that is when we were doing bakery to animal feed. We had to think about, how do we make this so that we can get
this is in your old world of being a retailer, right?
Yes. So thinking about, how do we engage that population of people so that they can walk confidently into the stores, talk to their store managers, and help coach them into the right way of delivering a great performance. And it was a short 2-minute video they could watch on their mobile phone in the car park, and it could have been done on a mobile phone, to be honest. It was just literally showing somebody walking into a bakery, going to the areas where there was a pink bag, and they pick up the pink bag, have a look what's in it, look at where it's been recorded correctly. And it was really empowering for those area managers, because of course they have 1,000,001 things to think about. So just giving them a 2-minute video on the focus for that day just really worked. So I think the audiences, focusing on the different audiences is really key here as well.
No, nice. I agree. That's good.
So I think when we think about the examples within the the meeting itself, Tesco done a fantastic job of environmental video, talking about the environmental impacts of food waste. Not only did that hit home about what great work Tesco are doing, but also hits home with what you can do at home and the impact that you're having at home by wasting food. And of course, a lot of that food is coming from the home. Most of it, the majority of it's actually coming from the home. So it's really important that you're kind of educating people on what they could do outside of work, as well as then caring about it inside of the business as well.
Yeah, we had a sort of proverbial cigarette packet, and we were totting up the number of store associates that could be impacted by the training represented by the retailers. We got to 2 million. So that's 2 million store associates working for the retailers that joined the call that could go home and spread that message or take that message to their own lives, but also, 3 or 4 other dependents that they are having around them. So, I mean, tremendous multiplier effect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the great work that they've done on that environmental video on food waste, I mean, having everybody watching that video has that impact. I still meet people today that I talk about, what I do for work and talk about the environmental impact, and people just aren't aware of it. So I think there's still a great opportunity to do that. And then I guess going back to the innovation in the training modules, I mean, who wants to be a zero air? What a great idea. It just made it fun and engaging, and to phone a friend and get one of those colleagues pop up to try and help you out with the answer is great. Because when you get stuck on e-learning, you don't really have anything else to do other than hope for the best on the multiple choice. So I thought that was a great idea.
It really was.
Really well done to them. But yeah, I think, some other examples, I think Kroger were doing some great stuff. I think outside of within the store, their media and marketing messages outside of that about what they do, I think is a great idea, because again, back to the multiplier effect is that, even outside of working in the retailer that you work for, you are also a consumer, and you are also seeing that sort of marketing media messages outside of work. So when you can see those messages outside of that as well, it really does help you.
They had a billboard, right? I mean, they were just sort of local billboard to the state or even the county. I thought, wow, that's a really great idea.
And I think as well, one of the previous meetings we had, one of the great things that I noticed with Kroger was that they had some different ways, going back to the engaging in different audiences. I remember on their bakery items, they had a sign above their bakery items saying, "Oops, we baked too much." So, and I thought that was great, because it's not a reduced to clear label, which some people still steer away from. It was just, almost going, we've got this lovely fresh product, we just baked too much. Here you go, you're going to get yourself a bargain today. And what a great way for people to sort of pick up on that and get themselves cheaper food, great quality.
I like the certificates that they were also giving to their store associates. I don't know whether that sounds nicer in the boardroom than it does actually in reality, and whether people just throw them away when they get home. But I felt that was quite a good touch.
Yeah, I think you have to try all different things. You're right. Some people, will not really be bothered by it, and other people will take great pride in that and go home and show what they've got. So I think there's no harm in doing them all different types of things, because it's horses for courses, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a pretty good use of our time back then. Quite a few new learnings, and you've captured some of those on this course. So thanks very much for that. Look forward to seeing you on the next one, and all the very best. Thank you, Richard.
Thanks, Colin.
All the best. Bye.
Well, that's all we have time for this week. Thank you for joining us. And thanks to all the ECR Retail Loss community for the sharing of their knowledge, their research and latest learnings that ensure that we become truly a global platform for learning. My name is Colin Peacock. This is the Sell More and Lose Less podcast. And if you liked it, please subscribe so you automatically get all future episodes. And also, if you think your colleagues and friends might also like it, please ask them to follow ECR Retail Loss on LinkedIn and tune in to our next podcasts. If you didn't like it, then let us know and we'll try and fix it. Either way, see you next time. Thank you again.